Mr. Jeffrey had three pending felony charges, one count of embezzlement, two counts of obtaining money by false pretenses. The judge sentenced Mr. Jeffrey to 2 years, 6 months to run concurrently, which means he'll have an actual sentence, even though there are three charges, of 2 years, 6 months to serve because they run together at the same time.
What will he do in response to the restitution order of $216,000?
Oh, we're noting an appeal. I don't know if you noticed, but we noted an appeal, and that's one of the bases for the appeal. It doesn't. One of the legal arguments was that McCray Port and Gilmer Housing Associates, with whom he actually had an agreement, was not charged in the indictment. The indictment was charged. He was charged with stealing money from the Northwest Neighborhood Environmental Organization. It's what the law calls, in my view, a fatal variance between the charge and the actual evidence at trial. And the second part of that argument is, I don't think you can be charged or held criminally responsible for restitution from a company from which you were not charged with stealing the money from. So there will be a fight as to the amount of the restitution as it stands right now in the appellate court.
So what is your general reaction to this verdict?
We're obviously disappointed in it. We think it's not, as I stated, what's criminal sentencing ought to be about is two things. What the person actually did. In this case, you have a white-collar crime, absolutely no prior history of this kind of activity. He wasn't even charged with any embezzlement, obtaining money by false pretenses. Did a lot of good works in the community. I think the appropriate sentence ought to be no more than time served. And again, that impacts the amount of restitution. Because what's going to happen is, how can he, after spending, as he's a multi-convicted felon, he's spend roughly 2 years in the penitentiary, and how is he going to make the restitution? And the answer is he won't be able to, especially $200,000.
Do you feel you've